to school. When we go to school, we learn knowledge from those who have come before us, and they learn from their fathers learn from their fathers, so on and so forth, okay? So while, yes, it is possible for me to sit down, problem solve, and try to figure something out within reason, right? As long as I have a general sense of what goals I want to achieve and what I'm trying to avoid, the process will always be much faster with some knowledge compounded that has been given to me by those who have gone through the process of trial and error before me. That's what I'm looking to give you in this instructional. Okay, I understand that there are people who like very short content and very short scenes, brief, that get to the point. There are also those that enjoy when the instructor elaborates on certain concepts, details, and goes over them over and over again, okay? What I've tried to do is I've tried to, as much as possible, strike some sort of middle ground here with my instructional, where I've tried to keep it as brief as it can be, or as it needs to be, without too much elaboration, yet trying to show as many angles and as many details as possible as I go through, so that you don't need to see it over and over and over again to gain additional details, okay? Always remember this. If you need to see a detail again, you have the rewind button. You can just simply rewind the scene and watch it again. Generally speaking, most of the scenes in my instructional are around the, Ty, what would you say, like 2 minutes, most of the scenes? Yeah, most of my scenes in this instructional, like around like 2 to 3 minutes. So I try to make it very viewer friendly and brief so you guys can watch, consume, and then immediately drill. Because again, my biggest goal with my instructionals is that you guys can consume the content and turn it into skill. And when you're sitting down for too long and watching content for too long, it's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. Like, I like some long form content. I really enjoy Gordon's content. I really enjoy John's content. Some of that content is longer form. However, when it comes to actually wanting to stay active, stay warm, and continue to drill and keep your body going, shorter form content is obviously preferred. Again, if you need to watch something again in this instructional, feel free to hit that rewind button. It works just fine last time I checked. Okay, before we even start hopping into the actual material in this instructional, first I want you guys to understand a problem that comes with learning guillotines, or what I'm saying is the challenge with learning guillotines. And there's a few different challenges that you need to be aware of and you need to understand in order for you to fully comprehend why I structured the instructional the way I did, okay? The first challenge with learning guillotines is a specificity problem, okay? And this is the problem that arises from the fact that we're trying to develop a very specific submission, okay? And obviously, the more specific and the more picky we are with what it is that we're looking to develop, in this case, a submission, the more challenging it's going to be, right? For example, like if this was an instructional on, say, for example, on the front headlock system, an entire system of front headlocks, where they're learning guillotines, darces, whatever the case is, wouldn't be as much as a problem. But you didn't purchase this instructional because you want to get better at go-behinds. You didn't purchase this instructional because, say, for example, you want to get better at methods of breaking your opponent down from turtle, although those are things that will be shown in this instructional. You purchase this because you want to get better at guillotines. You want to strangle people with a guillotine strangle. Because of that, as I said, there's a specificity challenge, okay? And if I was to give you live drills, and in those live drills, you barely get to guillotine people in those live drills, you'd be like, man, what the heck? Like, this guy, his live work doesn't work. Like, it's not giving me opportunities for guillotines, okay? So that's the first challenge, which is the specificity challenge, okay? Second challenge is a challenge that you're trying to develop a submission that takes place in front of your opponent, right? So when I'm in front of Angels and Turtle, right, obviously there's two main ways that I can position my body relative to his. I can either be in front of him or I can be behind him, okay? The guillotine is a submission that takes place in front of your partner or in front of your opponent, okay? Because of that, anytime you're in front of a human being, that's going to be a lot tougher for you to complete whatever challenge it is, okay? Obviously, in the sport of jiu-jitsu, one of our main goals is to get behind our opponent. The reason being, when you get behind people, things tend to become easier, not harder. Okay? Because again, as human beings, our bodies are designed in such a way to deal much more efficiently and effectively with threats in front of us, not behind us. So that's the second big challenge with developing guillotines, is the fact that you're trying to develop a submission that takes place in front of your opponent. Lastly is the awareness problem, okay? Guillotines also tend to be very difficult to acquire, say for example, if I have a front headlock, because of the awareness my opponent has to them, okay? Why is that? Well, number one, there's a knowledge, right? The knowledge that if Angel knows a thing or two about jiu-jitsu, he's going to become aware of guillotines very quickly. But more importantly that, and even more basic to that, is the fact that it's an attack that takes place on my opponent's head. As a human being, like Angel doesn't even have to know jiu-jitsu, right? If you zoom out, Ty, so you put the camera on Angel too, right? If I take my hand and I flick my hand like this on his knee, there's barely any reaction on his part. But if I do the same thing to his face, as you can see, he already started to flinch and he already started to move his body. There's a hyper-awareness that takes place around the head, okay? When you attack a guillotine, obviously it's an attack that takes place around the head and neck. There's a hyper-awareness that a human being has on a very fundamental level around this area of the body. Because of that, that's another challenge that we have to overcome, okay? So I say all this so that you understand why I put this section, this drilling section in the instructional, okay? Because if I was to have you guys, say for example, start live, and I have you guys do live goes where you start with the front headlock, I'm like, okay, start with the front headlock, and I expect you guys to start getting to guillotines from there in a live go. Probably not going to happen. As a matter of fact, that's one of the biggest frustrations that people have with guillotines, is that they feel like they get to front headlock so much, yet in front